Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone, and good day, and thanks for joining us. We know everyone's super busy these days, and the opportunity to get a little bit of your time is most appreciated by us. I'm going to ask my colleagues here, Howard and Brian, to flip on their cameras as we get started. A couple of housekeeping items. First of all, your mics are muted, so you're unable to sort of verbally, interject or ask questions. But the GoToWebinar control panel has a questions box there. You can submit questions through that, and we'll do our best to answer them today for you. If we're unable to answer them, however, we will respond by email to you and reach out directly to ensure you get the answers you're looking for. As well, the session is being recorded today. So if you want to share this with your colleagues, family, friends, Friday night with popcorn, you can do that. If you do that, please let me know, because that would be a first. And without further ado, though, I'd like to introduce our colleagues for our session today. Service from good to great service. And first off, joining us is Howard Cohen. Howard goes by the handle Senior Resultant, but Howard has a tremendous amount of experience in the Microsoft channel, working with MSPs and other channel partners, working with a Redmond channel partner as an author and a blogger, and commentating on the state of the nation in the channel and so on. And Howard's been very kind to us to join us and lend his expertise and his opinions to what we think is a very important topic and a very poignant topic these days around customer service, especially within the channel. There's a lot of rapid growth of MSPs and other organizations that are being forced into spinning up world-class support organizations to help ensure the growth of their business. And Howard's going to comment on that today for us. And then also joining us is my colleague Brian Field. Brian's a senior consultant with Provence, and he brings a little bit of a boots on the ground kind of perspective to the conversation in terms of helping our customers with their ITSM implementations, and we'll bring a little realities to some of the conversation that we have going today. So with that, again, thank you for joining us, and without further ado, Howard, why don't you kick off the conversation by covering a little bit of the topic today.
Okay, thanks, Greg, and hi, everybody. I'm here today to ask a question. That question being, what's the key difference between good service management and great service management? I think everybody here wants to be a great service manager. I'm just going to share some of the things I've seen in the field, watching great managers do what they do and learning from them. And I think you'll find it eye-opening in some cases, I hope. Great service manager. What makes a great service manager? The first thing is that the great service manager knows their costs. I get a lot of reactions to that statement. Why would that be first? Of all the things a service manager has to know, why is the costs the first thing you bring up? And the answer is that the first and foremost responsibility of any manager in any regard is to keep the business going. If you don't know your costs, especially in the service business, you can operate unprofitably for a much longer period of time than anybody ever should. And it's something you need to keep your eye on. It's something that it's difficult to calculate cost in the service business. And so there's a lot you need to know. Let me take you through that just a little bit. First of all, most people, when you ask them, what's your cost of a technician's hour? And they'll figure out their salary divided by the number of hours in a year, and they'll say, oh, it's $40 an hour, $20 an hour. And they're wrong. Just the salary is not the total cost. The concept is the concept of fully burdened costs. What do we mean? Fully burdened costs include everything that needs to be calculated into that actual hourly cost of a technician's time. There are individual costs beyond their salary. For example, benefits. You pay a portion of their benefits if you offer them benefits. Their training, the tools they use, the gasoline that they used or the mileage they put on their vehicle to travel to customers for you. There's all manner of other costs that an individual incurs during the cost of a year. All of those need to be calculated in. Also, an apportionment of your general costs. It costs to keep the lights on. So you need to apportion a piece of your electrical cost to each technician. Your communications costs, your heating costs, HVAC. There's all manner of things you pay, rent on your facility, that need to be apportioned out amongst your people because it is a cost. There's also the actual cost of their actual hour, okay? So now we've taken all of these individual costs, we've taken all of these apportioned costs, and we've packed them in. And that $20 an hour, don't be surprised if that $20 an hour suddenly becomes $50 an hour, because those costs are significant. And depending on how you operate your business, it could be $30 an hour, it could be $50, it could be more. Then, of course, there's the other challenge, which is to incorporate utilization into the formula. This is not simple. You've added up everything, you've gotten that cost of an individual's hour. Let's say that cost is $50. And in the course of a working year, you supposedly have 2,088 hours per year, 168 per month, in which to recover those dollars. The problem, of course, is that you don't know that you're going to sell all of those hours. So what if you only cover 50%? What if you only sell half their hours? The other half are idle, or training, or meals, or what have you. Well, you only have half that number to capture your cost back in. Your cost just doubled. So that $50 becomes $100 at 50% utilization. This is the core reason why utilization is so important to service managers, because it definitely impacts your actual cost of doing business. So don't stop at salary. There are some people out there who tell you, well, just take the W-2 and multiply it by 2.5. That's good for a finger in the wind. It's not a good calculation for keeping your business running. So sit down with your accountant, sit down with your bookkeeper, sit down with whomever it is runs your finances, and get them to help you catalog all the costs that have to be burdened in, and including the apportioned costs, and then figure out your utilization, and you'll be able to determine the actual profitability of each of your people. Now, of course, that means that you're tracking their utilization and that your tracking is accurate. Ultimately, you want to come down to the actual cost, not just of each individual person, but each service that you deliver, because some of those services are now being delivered using automation. You're doing monitoring, that's an automation system doing that. Well, what's the cost of operating that per hour or per customer? That needs to be calculated in as well. So your path to profitability is paved with knowing your cost of every person and every service that you provide to your customers. Next up, the great service manager knows their customers. When I say knows their customers, it's important to know your customers' expectations. What do they expect of you? How quickly do they expect you to get something done? How well informed do they expect to be? In some cases, you can consider that a preference. They prefer to be informed or they prefer not to be informed. I've met very few customers who don't prefer to be informed. But it's certainly something you ought to know. You ought to know that person well. Also, and we're going to come back to this a couple of times today, you're in the customer success business. You do what you do for them so they can succeed at what they do. And so you need to know what means success for each of your customers. What do they consider to be the factors that contribute to their success? Okay, so now we know our costs, we know who our customers are. What resources do you have available to you? You know, what can you do and what can you not do? There was a time in our industry that everybody wanted to be all things to everybody. And if we've learned anything, it's that that doesn't work. That it's very difficult to be everything to everybody. It's very expensive. So we don't want to do that. We want to specialize. But if we specialize, and of course, those of you who are Microsoft partners know that you have to declare your competencies and you have to earn your certification for those competencies. But what do you do when a customer wants something that you do combined with something you don't do? And then you need to turn to a partner. You need to figure out who to turn to do what you can't do or don't do yourself. And of course, you want a partner that you can trust, because probably every one of you thought for a moment, well, I'm concerned about partnering. What if the partner tries to steal my customer? And I've been asked that question a million times. And the best answer I've ever heard wasn't my answer. Somebody else in the audience said, hey, if you can lose your customer to that other partner, they were never your customer to begin with. And I think there's a real value to that. You know, if you have a customer, they'll stay. They'll stay for the right reasons, no matter what somebody else does. But you want trustworthy partners. You want partners you know can do the job, will do the job, will work with you in a professional manner. You don't want somebody you have to worry about. You need to know the cost of using those partners. And of course, using partners is as easy as selling a product, because they'll express their cost. If they're subcontracting, they'll express their cost to you, and off you go. The great service manager also knows the best tools. And they appreciate the importance of interoperability of those tools. The fact is, it takes a lot of tools to do what we do. It takes a lot of tools to troubleshoot every kind of product that we have to troubleshoot, and so forth. And so they have to work together. In a time when everything is connected to everything, everything has to be able to work with everything as well. This means that you need to appreciate the value of an application programming interface. These are the connectors between different products. For many, this is where they trip, getting things to work together well with each other. And we're going to talk a little bit later about an alternative to that you will find very valuable. A great service manager focuses on what the tools do. They don't want to use the most fashionable tools, the most popular tools. They want to use the tools that work. And so they look for all the things they need to do and find the best tools to do each one. Or some of them don't have to do that. We'll get to that later. They appreciate what their tools enable their company to do. If you think about it today, one of the things you want to do is add more services to your portfolio. You know, it's 5 times easier to sell to an existing customer than to create a new customer. So if you can add a service, you've got something more to sell to that existing customer. And if you look at the tools you use, the tools themselves may guide you to creating new services you hadn't thought about before. So it's important to appreciate the tools and what the tools can do for you and enable you to do. One of the most important tools in a service manager's toolkit is their people. People are our most important resource. It's people who serve our customers. It's people who interact with our customers. We need to know our people. We need to know who does what best. If a customer calls in with a thorny problem, we need to know who to send, who we can send out to take care of that. Part of doing it best is who does it fastest. Fastest without errors. Fastest without messing everything up. There's a difference. Okay, so fastest is part of best. Fastest is also a component of cost. Who earns the customer's? There's great stories about technicians who really weren't the best technician in the group, but every customer wanted them. Always requested them. Why? Because they raised confidence in the customer. They earned the customer's trust. And that is a gift. That, yeah, it can be developed. You can train it. Some people just have it by nature. But every one of the people who delivers service to your customers needs to be able to earn their trust and earn their confidence. And you need to know that they do. And if you don't feel comfortable that they do, then you work with them. Keep on working with them until you're either comfortable that they do or replace them. Okay, here we are in the home stretch, knowing your data. Okay. We talked about utilization before. We talked about tracking costs before. Of course, we're tracking time and motion, people getting to appointments on time, people taking care of tasks in a certain duration. That's all data. And so a great service manager needs to know their data. They need to know, for example, data about each customer. How big is that customer in terms of annual revenue, in terms of people? What business are they in? What are their success factors? What business have you done with them before? How much revenue do they generate for you? You need to know about data about each vendor. You work with a lot of vendors. If you're still repairing equipment, you need to know about Dell equipment versus HP equipment versus other equipment. And so you need to know about the vendors and what you can expect from them, because they are a part of delivering services. On the software side, you need to know a lot about Microsoft to capably deliver Microsoft services. What do you know about each market that you serve? Obviously, you want to know your market. You want to know how many customers are in each market, because you want to know when you've saturated the market. But you want to know the complexion of that market, what kinds of businesses are there. You need data about each of your people. What are their skill sets? What are their competencies? What have they been trained and certified in? There's a lot to know about each of your people. Some of that is anecdotal information, unstructured information, and the computer you need to keep that data is probably right up here. But there's plenty of other data that you can keep about each of your people that will help you make decisions. Okay, obviously, there's a lot to know. People, markets, vendors, companies, customers. There's a lot to know. And so you need help knowing that. And you find that help in the systems that you use to track all that data, to keep all that data, and to report to you on that data. Before I go any further with the data, just a little customer service 101 to wrap this up. First and foremost, you want to keep the customer informed. Keeping the customer informed is a crucial part of our job. If you keep the customer informed, no matter what happens, you can keep the customer satisfied. And of course, it's critical to keep the customer satisfied if you want to keep the customer. So always remember, informing your customer leads to satisfying your customer, which leads to keeping your customer. And that's why I say this is customer service 101. Applies to any service business, not just IT. Second thing, fix the customer first. Now, it's almost like I'm saying the same thing all over again. It's true. But you want to make sure that the customer is operating smoothly before you worry about everything else operating smoothly. The customer understands what's going on, understands what needs to happen, understands just about how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. You want to fix the customer first. If you call them with any news whatsoever before they call you, it's a very pleasant conversation. How are you? How's it going? I just wanted to tell you that we're working on this. We should have it done by next Tuesday. Happy. Maybe that you're calling them to say, listen, we thought we'd have this done by tomorrow, but we've just run into a snag. It's going to take a day, maybe 2 extra days. I wanted to let you know that. If you call the customer and tell them that, they'll be okay with it more often than not. On the other hand, you may wait until they call you, in which case you'll have a screaming customer. And what's interesting about that is that it's the same news. You know, we've got a delay. You call them, that's fine. They call you, that's horrible. Human nature. Get there before they do. Fix the customer first. Make sure the customer knows the news, no matter what the news is. Don't be afraid to share bad news with a customer. If you share it, the customer will appreciate it, and therefore you can manage it. Ultimately, what you want to know is the difference between customer service, which is what we deliver to the customer. When we deliver that the service to that customer, we're creating a customer experience. What's the experience of working with you? Are you pleasant, easy to work with? Are you difficult? Are you hard to understand? Do you have to be chased? Do you not return phone calls? All of these things impact the experience the customer has with you. And one of your goals should be to make that customer experience as wonderful as it can be, as positive as it can be, because that's the way that you earn customer satisfaction. Yeah, very clear. Customer satisfaction is not something we create. We can't do it. The only one who can create customer satisfaction is the customer. And they will. They'll create customer satisfaction if we deliver a great customer experience. So keep that exchange in mind, and ultimately remember that the goal is customer success. If the customer is successful, we've been successful. We're there to do what we do for them so they can be successful doing what they do for their customers. A little quick aside on digital transformation that is part of this. As we move through and as you continue moving through, a great service manager understands that digital transformation, a phrase we're all besieged with all the time, is not about technology. It's not a matter of just upgrading your technology. That is not a digital transformation. That's an upgrade. Digital transformation has to do with what people do with the technology to make their lives better. How do we improve the work that we do? How do we do it faster, better, fewer errors, using technology to help us? How do we use automation to take away the things we don't want to be doing so that we can be doing more interesting work, more fulfilling and rewarding work? It's about increasing our satisfaction with the kind of work we get to do. So digital transformation is not about the tech itself, it's about what we do with tech. And again, it all begins with data. We said that before. I just wanted to elaborate. We talked about point solutions at a given point earlier. And these days, we're looking more at platforms than at point solutions. First of all, you're going to hear about a new product from Provence that is a Microsoft-centric ITSM solution. It's built up on a Microsoft platform. That is to say, it's built on Dynamics 365. And it's also built to work with the Microsoft Power Platform. It takes full advantage of the Power Platform. And of course, you're familiar with the products there: Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. Sorry, I have a problem here. Also, another major feature you're going to be hearing a lot more about shortly is the Dataverse, having a single source for all the data where you can keep it secure, keep it organized, and create your single source of truth. We talked about choosing best of platform over best of breed. We've always looked for best of breed, the best of breed product, the best of breed this, the best of breed that. The problem with best of breed is that there is a tax, a technology tax, if you will, on using best of breed point solutions. One tool for this, another tool for that, another tool for that. Somebody has to learn all those tools. Somebody has to find the APIs to make all those tools work together. That's a much more sophisticated person than your run-of-the-mill tech. And so that's an expensive person, so therefore it impacts your costs. If you look at all the different products that are part of the Microsoft stack, Microsoft platform, Office 365, System Center, all of these, if you were to choose a different product from a different vendor for each of these, it would drive you nuts, and it would be a very expensive proposition. So we try to avoid that. Instead, what the Power Platform gives you is assured integration of everything that's in your environment. You don't have to test the tools. You know they play well together from the get-go. So that testing phase is gone. You have the Dataverse. The Dataverse, we always hunt for the single source of truth. One place for all the data to reside. One place for all the applications to access the data. And that's the concept. So that's a huge advantage of selecting a platform rather than different databases for each different function and getting them to share data, migrate data, exchange data, so forth. It's one platform to manage. Management is a significant investment in anything you do. So when you have to manage a dozen different tools from a dozen different vendors, it's a lot of work. And again, it adds to your cost, sometimes invisibly. When you have the Power Platform and you're running on Dynamics 365, all in the Microsoft stack, it's just one platform to manage, and it all works consistently. It's one platform to secure. You're not coming up with different tools to fulfill the requirements of the different tools you're using. So it's easier for your people to adopt, train on, and support. And adoption, if they don't adopt the tools, you've got a problem. You have a failure. So it's an important thing to consider. Having a platform is more scalable. You don't have to worry about how each product will scale as you grow. The platform scales as one. I talked before about how important it is to a service manager to get reporting. A good service manager, great service manager wants reports that tell him exactly or her what they want to know at a given moment. You need flexibility and agility in your reporting, and the Power Platform provides all the tools you need to do that. So you're extending the value of your software by choosing a platform, and hopefully, in all the ways that we just discussed, you're reducing costs. Okay, so and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to really rush through the balance of this. You need to know a lot about your customer, their installed base, their activities, who is asking for service more often than others. In some cases, that may be good news. In some cases, you may have a problem. If every user at the customer is calling in for a password change, you've got to change the way that you manage passwords, figure out why that's happening. You want to know the total customer lifetime value of each and every customer. There are some customers that you may have to tell them that they're not a customer. You're losing money on them, and it costs you too much to serve them. Putting that politely takes some training, takes some time, but it's important that you do gain the ability to remove a customer when you need to. As we said before, your financial data, your return on investments, profitability by each individual provider, so forth, profitability by customer, operational data, and Brian's going to go over all of this. So let me just rush through these. You can get the listing here in the deck, which is available to you. And this one I wanted to stop on for a second to say that employee experience leads to customer experience. If your employees are happy, your customers will be happy. So it's worth any investment In terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there's a lot of different ways people think about that. They're important concepts, especially in managing a workforce. To me, the thing you need to focus on is making sure that you provide an equal abundance of opportunity to every individual. That's what everybody's there for. And of course, customer success data. Ultimately, you want to know how well they're doing. And the way you find out is to ask them. Anyway, here we're going to answer the question. The key difference between the good and the great service manager is that the great service manager knows a lot, but they take what they know and they put it to very, very good use. To do that, they need the right platform. And so here to introduce you to the platform is Roger. Roger, you there?
Brian.
I'm sorry, Roger.
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, Brian. No worries. Okay. We do have a Roger, but he's not with us today. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that, Howard. So part of what Howard, really spoke to was kind of, a lot of the drivers around what's great customer service, and of course, data is such a big part of that. And the reason we asked, one of the reasons we asked Brian to join us is, one is because Brian's ran a service business before in one time in his career, and then he works for Provence, right? And as an IT service management vendor, and we sell to a lot of service organizations, and Brian helps our customers light up the products and get value from them. And he has a lot of experience as well around understanding, how do we service that data, not for the sake of building reports and flashy dashboards, but to really help people make smart decisions about their business, as Howard had commented on. So Brian, why don't you stoke up your machine there and show your screen, and we'll show us a little bit of an example of the types of things that you're implementing with customers and what we're talking about today.
Oh, absolutely. So thanks for the intro, Greg. And I do have quite a bit of experience in the industry, and maybe I'll have a chance to talk about that in a little bit more detail in a bit. Wish we had a single platform back in the day when I was managing that. It would have made life a lot easier. But what I want to show you here today, and what you're looking at, is some examples of how you can put some of Howard's words into practice here, by understanding what's going on from a tactical or a technical perspective. I'm a service manager, and I need to know what's happening from multiple perspectives in the environment to ensure that I'm responding appropriately, that I'm taking into account things that are going on with the customer, so I can ensure that customer satisfaction is at a highest level as possible. And I'm also going to show you from a business perspective, some ways you can take advantage of data that you're capturing, all within the Dataverse, all within the platform, where you can share information and really get value out of what's going on from those two different perspectives. So what you're looking at here is within the Provence service team environment, ITSM, a Power BI dashboard. And it is designed very specifically to help managers understand what's going on at any given time within the service organization. So here what you're looking at is what's happening today. Very important information. I'm now looking for triggers. Is there something unusual happening? Is in a certain service that I'm offering, or perhaps with a specific customer that I'm working with here, and I can quickly see, that one customer has, maybe an unusual number of tickets coming in for a half a day's worth of work. Why is that the case? And I see the data that's driving the dashboard all at a glance here, right? Being able to understand exactly what's happening and then respond appropriately to ensure things are addressed. Now, I might want to look at that from yet whoa, a little bit different perspective. Let me refresh that. So we got some real data there, and be able to show you things like at a glance, how am I doing with respect to my backlog? How am I doing with respect to open tickets? How many tickets are related to a hot account? Meaning maybe that's a customer you're having a little trouble with. Their customer satisfaction is low, and you want to understand, well, how many tickets do I have related to those? How many do I need to work on? Lots of data to be able to take advantage of, to do summaries, to see where I can make some improvements in perhaps resolution time of my tickets, where I want to then look at things like the workload of my team. So what's happening here with respect to tickets by priority, by status, by subcategory, category, by account, or just as importantly, what's happening within my own team. Are some of my people, like Mike and Chris, they appear to be overworked relative to the rest of my team? Can I reallocate some of the tickets? Why do I have such a large number of tickets sitting at the service desk team? Right, that shouldn't happen. We want those allocated to individuals so we can start actively working on them. So maybe I need to do a better job as a manager, making sure that process is being followed. And then finally, I can take a look at this from an agent perspective and understand what an individual is doing. What are they working on? Are there things I can do to help Chris work off some of the tickets that he has in his queue by reallocating to another person with a different skill set or different things like that. So a wealth of information that's captured, and then that can be reported on, giving you visual cues and then the actual data which is underlying to really manage your service environment effectively. Now, if I change that view a little bit, and I now want to look at this from a business perspective, I'll show you an example of a report that actually we use here internally in Provence as well. But I want to now work and understand with services engagements or managed services engagements where I'm looking at number of hours consumed and how's my implementation going in general. But this is more from a project management high level, or maybe even a financial perspective, as you'll see here down the road. But now I can say, okay, where am I? What projects do I have? Am I working effectively? Are there projects nearing completion? Do I have risk in any way where I'm not expending the hours like I should be? What's really going on? And see this information at a glance. So from a business perspective. Now I can take this a level deeper, and let's look at it from a timesheet perspective. So here now you have a look at and that you can use either for direct delivery to a customer, or maybe integrate with a financial system where you do billing out of. But a wealth of information here from who's been working on the project, how long, what did they do, from a summary perspective. What are we looking at financially? Are we at risk of using all of our hours and the work's not done yet? Things of that nature, to be able to, again, at a glance, be able to look at it from a financial perspective. But there's also the real item there of being able to report on the work that you're doing to the customer easily, all through the platform. I can look then a little bit further. Maybe I want to look over time and see how I'm utilizing my staff. So if I look at somebody like Chris, I can see that he's doing great. All of his time is billable, perfect, no non-billable hours. That's what we want. And I can see which projects he's been working on to achieve that perspective here within the current fiscal year. And then Mike might even want to see, okay, well, show me a little bit more about what he's working on. I can drill through into Chris's record and now get once again maybe a more clear picture on what he's been doing by month, the different services that he's been working on, the different projects, et cetera, and really, once again, get an understanding on how I'm, in this case, effectively using Chris to help deliver services on a regular basis to our customers. So, Greg, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Great, thanks, Brian. Thanks for that. Quick peek at kind of how this data can light up and have an impact for organizations. And of course, we work with an awful lot of service organizations, both MSPs and other SIs and other organizations that need this power that the platform delivers. So maybe a bit of Q&A here as we move forward. Howard?
Brian, if I could, I have a question for you. With all the reporting that we're seeing, going beyond the platform, going beyond what we've seen so far, what's the value of taking the ITSM data and being able to integrate that with ERP data, CRM data? All of the other, we talked about the power of the platform. Can you talk a little bit about how that integration works and what the value is to our MSPs?
Yeah, sure. So I'll show you the value by sharing some pain. I alluded to this in my earlier discussion. In my background, I worked in a service environment, and we used point solutions, and they were very good point solutions. We used a catalog so people could come and request services and things for us. And we used a service desk application. It was a best of breed, very well-known service desk solution, and it worked well. We used, this is going back a few years, we used a legacy Provence tool for seat and asset management to not only from a billing, from an asset management perspective, but also from a billing and invoicing perspective to our customer. So we had these tool sets that were out there. And as you might imagine, the challenge that we had integrating that data and providing data out. So the service desk needed to know what services were subscribed to via the catalog and were captured in Provence. So there's a three-way integration there just to figure out, just to let the service desk agents know. So very difficult to do when you're crossing platforms like that. Not the easiest thing ever to do. So it would, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it would have been lovely to be able to have used a single platform where, from the technical challenge would have been reduced significantly, just in terms of the integration between the applications. And then, as you mentioned there, now we've got billing and invoicing that we have to do and be able to get that and easily get that into into a form that we can present to the customer, with all coming together with all three of those pieces. So tremendous value in that platform, the accessibility to the data, the accessibility to configure and support your various needs through tools like Power BI, which is, as you saw the output, but as you can see is very powerful to deliver everything that we would have needed at that time.
Great. Yeah, so I talked about the fact that all of the pieces of this platform, look at all the applications that are on the screen right now. Maybe you could comment a little bit about the value of them all coming from the same vendor and working so incredibly well together, the tight integration that you see here.
Brian, why don't I jump in here? Because I think this one really comes from what we're seeing in the market, and the customers that we have and kind of the trends that we've been seeing. But I hear this in my sleep now. Platform matters. It's power of the platform, and maybe it's a little bit of Microsoft drinking the Kool-Aid too much. But the customers that we work with are making platform decisions. They're not making Howard's point solution decisions. platform really matters because it's the opportunity to achieve real optimization in the business, right? Skills and resource efficiency, automation, you know, that 360-degree view of the customer that that you can achieve if you're in the, you know, the biz app side from a Dynamics perspective or a Power Apps perspective, pulling that all together. The fact that all of this just hangs together really, really well, and you don't have to invest in that. You know, there's a legacy in the service industry, you know, of really great tools that, you know, particularly in the MSP market, that really help drive, you know, a lot of adoption of tools and to help, you know, manage those businesses. But the world's changing, and platform matters so much, and we see this in our customers all the time. And they need to be able to have that kind of single pane of glass, if you will, to be able to manage their business, not only from the front end, from the customer service perspective, and ensuring that they're delivering the right services to the customer at the right time, et cetera, but also on the back end side, you know, supporting billing and reporting needs, et cetera. And, you know, there's monitoring tools and other you know, integrations with Azure DevOps, for example, you know, where organizations need this all to hang together well. And that's what the platform delivers. And that's why for Provence, you know, we decided to build out our ITSM and our asset management capabilities to support these service organizations on the Power Platform, built in Power Apps or built on top of Dynamics. But the Power Platform and the Dataverse are the keys to the magic that helps us all hang together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from if I may add it, from a tactical perspective, you know, going back to my example, you know, with that common platform and Power Automate and Power BI, et cetera, oftentimes, you know, you're going to save some effort and some, you know, looking for different skill sets, because you won't need those anymore, right? One person, once you learn the platform, you know, will be able to configure the environment that you need by themselves, or in any of the areas that you're choosing to deploy on the platform, as opposed to my scenario where I needed 3 or 4 different people with different skill sets just to get everything to hang together. You don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
With one skill set can be applied across the board.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of efficiencies that are gained, not only application of data consolidation, but, you know, from just you know, automation capabilities or workflow automation capabilities, using templates, things like that really drive efficiency. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff that we're doing with our customers. Howard,
yep.
Given your experience and what you see more broadly in the marketplace, and you know, we all agree violently that the tools are important, but it's not the whole picture. But you know, how we use them to create better outcomes is key. So do you have any examples that you can share of what you see in the, you know, out there in your comings and goings, and then the other organizations that you interact with?
It's funny, you made me think about the old phrase, it's not about the tools, but how you use them.
Right.
And you know, one of the things that I think, you know, we talked about the great service manager. One of the things that I think poor service managers do is fail to measure. And when I was watching Brian's demo, you know, just all the things that you can see, all the things you can learn from what's going on inside your own environment. The fact is, you don't have to go get that data. It's there. It's, you know, being generated by the systems you use every day. And you know, it's been credited to other people, but I think it's Peter Drucker who told us you cannot manage what you do not measure. And that has been the problem. I have seen, you know, talk about experience, I have seen service organizations go out of business because they didn't recognize that they were bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason they didn't recognize it was simply because they weren't measuring it. You know, they thought, oh, well, you know, we've got a lot of people going out and doing stuff, and, you know, they didn't recognize that they were spending way too much on a variety of different things. Obviously, you know, I can't get into specifics of individual partners that I've worked with, but if there's anything that, you know, when I come in to help a partner, the first thing I talk to them about is the first thing that I talked about today. Know your costs. know your costs, and also when you measure, you have the opportunity to see things coming. Is maybe the best way to say it. Service used to be a very reactive business. You get a call, go out and fix it. More recently, we've seen systems that reach out and touch someone. They reach out and see what's going on. And so we can see problems coming. We can see that, this router is starting to clog up. We need to change the parameters of the router. We need to add more memory to the router. That allows you to be proactive, to get out in front of a problem. And that impresses customers tremendously. What I'm watching now, and this is truly amazing, some of my clients are using AI, specifically AI from Azure. One has created a support person who's not a person. It's an AI. And people can reach in and ask their questions and get answers from that AI. Obviously, it's rudimentary questions, but it's shaving off a piece of what people have to do. So it's reducing costs, which is interesting. But also by measuring everything that happens in a customer environment, they're becoming predictive. Forget reactive, forget proactive, they're becoming predictive. They're able to say, even without monitoring anything in particular, they can come down to a customer and say, listen, this is what we see, and this is what we see coming. So our suggestion is you spend a little bit now to fix, to improve this, rather than spending a lot later to resolve it. And I think that's a trend we're starting to see that's going to continue. And I think it's going to be, I would recommend it as the goal for anybody watching.
Yeah, very good points. So we've seen a number of our customers driving that kind of value from their decision to take a platform approach to not only their service management, but the whole operation of their business, right? That the Microsoft partner has a unique opportunity in that they have access to a lot of technology, based on the billions and billions of dollars that Microsoft invests in these technologies, everything from Azure to the business applications to,
Let me turn the table, because you're very focused on this.
Yeah.
What are the success stories you've seen?
Yeah, so we have a number of those on our website, of course, but the ones that come to mind for me are a customer like Whitfleet, who went from a kind of traditional leading IT service management solution to standardizing the platform, and they're using Provence and our ITSM products, but it's the coming together of us within the platform that drives the kind of savings they have, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 30% savings, by the shift that they made, and they'd be able to measure that. 10th Magnitude's another one, Azure expert services provider, managed service provider, double-digit client growth from how they're approaching their customer service, and again, making the platform a strategic driver of their growth and their success and their customer service. Office Grip, a Netherlands-based CSP and managed service provider, being very, very creative about how they're leveraging the platform to deliver services and sell Microsoft licenses and so on. Again, it's all coming together under the platform. So there's a theme here, right? Platform matters, and certainly from a Provence perspective, we're not really here to do a huge commercial around Provence and ITSM, but we chose to deliver our capabilities and our expertise on a leading platform, and that's the Microsoft Power Platform, and we're able to achieve those types of results with our customers. Just in our last few minutes here, Howard, I wanted to ask you about, you spoke earlier about how important it is to know how your service organization is performing. Can you expand on that and do it in the context of what's, if you look at the marketplace today and the partners that you work with today, like what's differentiating them between, between the good and kind of the average, really great and the average as well?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think the great ones are now figuring out how to use the tools to become predictive. I think that's the tip of the spear, if I would think about it. But I think that everything we do in IT, if you think about it, is meant to inform a person so they can be more competent at what they're doing. There are some partners I see out there who are still not doing that. They're going out there and they're doing their thing and they're trying their best, and they're not using almost any automation at all. They're not using any tools at all, and I think that's a mistake. I think that when you come to a customer and they don't have to tell you anything, you know their environment. You have now taken a position with that customer that's very different from service provider. You've become a partner. And I guess that's the word that I wanted to focus on here. We use the word partner a lot, especially in the Microsoft ecosystem. Partnering is a core skill and a core component of being a Microsoft partner. But we partner with our customers as well. We become a business partner to our customer. And if you're focused on like CIOs are becoming part of the business, not just the technology. It's the same for us. The partners that I see doing the best are the ones who advise their customers, who evaluate what's going on and help them define the future. I think that's where I'm seeing people achieve greatness in the quality of the performance of the company.
Yeah, and we see similar, of course. We're quite aligned on that. Can I ask you for one last comment before we wrap up around? I mean, we've seen Microsoft pushing their partners to specialize, to start up service businesses, to invest in the development of IP. We all know this is designed to help drive Microsoft's agenda in the market, which is totally valid, and we're all making good livings off it. But what do you see kind of happening today as organizations that perhaps were systems integrators or consulting companies that are spinning up service organizations now because they have to, because they're supporting products and so on? What do you see with that massive growth right now, and perhaps are you seeing consolidation starting to happen as well?
I see consolidation. I also see attrition. Just for perspective, I was moved out of a VP of sales position to a VP of service position in 1985. It's a long time ago. And it was because the vice president that I worked for was a visionary who saw that product wasn't going to be the core of our business much longer. It was going to be services. That's 40 years ago. Today, in the last 10 years, everybody who was a reseller has moved forward to try to become something more, some kind of service provider. And a lot of them have taken the right approach. They've hired the right people. They've taken the right training. They've acquired the right platform to build their business on. They've been very serious about it, and they've become some form of managed service provider. If you follow my column in Redmond Channel Partner, it's all about the evolution of MSPs as they grow to become more specialized and more specialized. And the reason they need to become more specialized is because there was a group that did not do it the right way. I tend to refer to them as the reseller refugees. These are people who didn't take the training, didn't hire people. Instead, they went to their business card printing shop and had MSP printed under their name. I joke about it, but the fact is that they're really muddying the waters for those who are doing a great job. They're disserving that title of managed service provider. So I think that's where we're going to see attrition. Those people can't survive much longer. There's no money for them to make selling many products. They can sell endpoints. They can sell network gear, servers, routers, and switches. But the people who are going to succeed recognize that the success that's awaiting them is awaiting them in what we do with those products, how we put those products to work for customers. We talk about digital transformation. how we help people use those technologies to improve their lives. And those who are doing that, those who are serving customers rather than those who are selling what they do rather than what they can get, are the ones who are winning.
Yeah.
And I suspect that it's going to become very, very polar. It's one or the other. There's not going to be a lot of shades of gray soon.
Okay, so thanks for that insight, Howard. It's super appreciated. And for those of you that want to read more from Howard, there's certainly content on our website. We've engaged Howard to help us write some blog posts, which are on this topic we're covering today. And of course, he's all over Redmond Channel Partner, especially with his MSP series and other content. So appreciate you helping us out today, Howard.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having you here, and Brian as well. And to our audience who joined us, many thanks for coming along and sticking with us through the session. Covered a lot of ground. If you want to learn more about Provence and what we do and how we do it, we'd love to talk to you. You can reach out to us at info@provence.com. And of course, our website has a lot of content there. And certainly, if you have questions about what we covered today or anything else related to the topic, we'd love to hear from you. So again, thanks so much, everyone. And recording will be made available and emailed to you as well. So look forward to that. Thanks again, team, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Bye for now.
Bye now.
Bye.